And now for further analysis, we are joined from Washington by the chairman of Lynx Advisory, Mr. Peter Tanous. Welcome, sir, and thank you for joining me here today. Sir, can you tell us, how does the recent Warner Brothers and Netflix deal reshape the competitive landscape of the streaming and entertainment industry, especially given Paramount's parallel moves in the market?
Thanks, Selma. It's nice to be with you again.
Thank you.
This is a massive deal, and the analysis we just heard a few minutes ago pretty much sums it up. Uh, to make it as simple as possible, the Netflix deal did have some antitrust issues that were very serious. Here's the here here's the summary. Netflix has over 300 million worldwide subscribers. You add HBO in this deal with about 120 million subscribers, and you have a massive influence on subscribing to whatever these streamers offer. And it puts them in a very, very difficult competitive advantage over everybody else on pricing, on content, and all of the rest of the things that go. So the deal now, the fact that Paramount is making a hostile all cash bid for Warner changes the equation because they would come out as maybe number three and five streamers together, not not the two top ones.
President Trump has announced his involvement in that deal. What implications do you think could this participation have on regulatory decisions and industry dynamics, do you think, Mr. Tanos?
Well, interestingly, I mean, the president made a comment that the Netflix deal, I mean, he made some very, very nice comments about Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos, but he also mentioned that the deal had problems. The problems it has are the ones we just talked about in terms of competitive. Now, the government's role is to ensure that mergers like this don't result in anti-competitive situations or a monopoly
Yep.
by one group over the others. So it's not unreasonable for the president to say that he'll have a voice in this.
Um, in what ways might the Warner Brothers Netflix agreement maybe impact wages and working conditions for industry laborers, such as the production crews, the actors, and post production stuff, do you think?
Yeah, good question, Selma. And in
Thank you.
fact, it was an issue because you see what's happening in movie theaters today. Even the movies that are the highest rated and the ones that are about to be nominated for Academy Awards are getting very little action in terms of people going to the theaters to see them because they know that a few weeks later they're going to be able to watch them at home.
Hmm.
And this is what the movie industry is really very concerned about. And the
Yep.
movie industry was much more worried about a merger with Netflix than it will be with a merger with Paramount because it thinks that Paramount will produce more theatrical productions than the Netflix merger would.
Um, in your opinion, do you think this consolidation between a major studio and a streaming giant potentially may lead to labor market shifts, do you think, including maybe job security and union negotiations?
Yeah, there'll always be a job security issue for some segments of the industry. But in my opinion, the movie making industry would be more favorable to the Paramount acquisition than it would be to the Netflix acquisition. Remember, there's another interesting side effect here. Netflix has a $5 billion breakup fee if the deal doesn't go through. They're going to have to pay $5 billion if Paramount wins. So don't be surprised if there is a counter offer by Netflix. It's something to be watching in the next few days.
Well, Mr. Tanis, how might the smaller content producers and independent studios maybe, do you think they'd be affected by the dominance of major players like Warner Brothers, Netflix, and Paramount in this new deal?
Well, the smaller ones already are affected. You know, the Netflix is pretty dominant with 300, with over 300 million
Of course,
subscribers.
of
But
course.
then you have Disney, you have Disney, you have Paramount, you have HBO, and the others that also produce content. So there's plenty of business to go around here.
Mhm. And in your opinion, what other broader economic impacts could arise in the entertainment sector from this deal, maybe particularly regarding labor demand, technological innovation, and content diversity?
Yeah, so the diversity issue is, I don't think, very much in danger because, as I mentioned, there are four or five streaming services. But if Netflix wins, the combination of Netflix and HBO produces over 400 million subscribers under one platform, potentially under one ownership, not necessarily one platform. And one could argue that that could create some issues in terms of diversity and different aspects of filmmaking. And the other issue, of course, as we already discussed, is the issue of theatrical viability. Well, will the theaters be able to stay alive if there is so much streaming content out there that is going directly into people's homes?
And if you can tell us, Mr. Tanous, from an industry regulatory perspective, what do you think are the challenges and opportunities does this deal present in balancing corporate growth with fair labor standards and competitive market health?
Yeah, well, Paramount argues that their deal is more consumer friendly.
Hmm.
They also argue that it's a better deal for the shareholders of Warner because it's an all cash deal. The other thing that we didn't discuss is that the difference in the deals is that the Paramount deal includes buying all of Warner Brothers. Netflix is excluding their cable channels like CNN and Discovery and others, which would be spun off into a separate company, which is another issue about the future of cable news. But all in all, it appears that the Paramount deal would do less damage, if you want to look at it that way, to the industry than would the Netflix deal.
Okay. Well, Paramount's reaction to the deal, how might competitive pressures drive changes in employment practices, investment in labor, and approaches to content production across the industry over the next 3 to 5 years, maybe?
Yeah, well, that was the issue, in fact, with Netflix
Hmm.
in terms of content. The combination of Netflix and HBO would basically produce a mammoth streaming service that could be arguably independent. I mean, Netflix has said that HBO would remain independent and would do their own programming, and Netflix would continue doing what it does, and it does it pretty well. So the competitive aspect is not as much of an issue as is the theatrical aspect and what the effect on movie theaters would be with one or the other combination.
And from Washington, that was the chairman of Lynx Investment Advisory, Mr. Peter Tanous. Thank you so much, sir, for your insights.